Hi, welcome back to McMorris Prosthetic Services. Today I wanted to talk about the fitting process and how that whole, situation goes. It definitely can be, at least for me, I didn't have anyone explain to me like this is how it's going to go until I was sitting in the clinician's office. And so, for a long time I was like sitting in the hospital bed, like Googling prosthetics, just prosthetics in general, and would see on Google Images, like I saw somebody running with, they had a Nike logo on their leg, and it was probably a cover if it was real. And we're just thinking like, oh sweet, like Nike has, prosthetics, like cool, that'll be cool. I'll be able to get cool stuff. And then like leaving the hospital and nobody talking to me about a prosthetic really. And then going to physical therapy and thinking that they were going to have a test leg for me to like try on, and like buying a car, I'd be able to go down and try it on and test it out and try a few out, see how I liked it. And then I went to my physical therapist and he was like, no, that's not how it goes. Like you need to meet with a prosthetist. And so then I met with a prosthetist, and like the process was explained to me, and it would have been helpful to know all of that information quite a bit sooner for sure. But it's difficult to get all the information out because there just aren't a lot of us that even understand how it all works. And so anyways, once you're to that point, when you get fitted, you will, first off, like I've talked about in the selecting a prosthetist video, of like you should go interview, CPOs around your area so that you can see their office, you can talk to them about, just their philosophies and see how you feel, make sure it's a good fit, because being able to communicate is the most important thing, not the company, the person that's going to fit you. If you can communicate with them, that's what matters. So once you've had that discussion and you feel good, they will start the process. And how that will go is one of two ways right now. So they could do the traditional casting way, which I will start with scanning, or they could scan you. So now scanning is becoming a lot more prominent and a lot more popular, and I do see a lot of benefits to it. I think that that's probably where like it's going, is most clinicians will probably just be scanning as their casting method before too much longer. Honestly, I don't know how much longer it's going to take, but it won't be a long time. And scanning is really simple. You can be sitting, standing, and they can take a cast of your leg just by at Mobility Prosthetics, where I worked at before. Most of the guys just had a scanner on their phone, not like an additional, like they have the app and then their phone was the scanner, so they could scan people in their homes or wherever they were, and they didn't have to be standing or whatever it was. And then they would do all their modifying and everything through a CAD program and print it, 3D print the test socket. So that's one way they could do it. The more traditional way they could do it is by getting a plaster cast of your leg, using plaster wrap and wrapping your leg and getting a negative model of your limb. And then from that, they will fill that model with plaster, giving them a positive model. And then the prosthetist will from there modify the model. And really that's where like the art and the sculpting and the skill comes in. And so yeah, they'll take files and Sureforms and everything, and file your limb down. It's the positive plaster model of your limb. They'll file that down in areas where they want to add pressure, or they'll add plaster and sculpt it and shape it where they want to add space and all of those things. And through scanning, that's what those guys are doing as well. They're just doing that on a digital model on a program rather than on plaster in real life. So really the like pros and cons, they're kind of at this point, it's like, yeah, it's nicer to be able to scan, but if my clinician doesn't know what he's doing modifying through the CAD program, then I want him to do what he knows. And so it's again more about the person that's fitting you and making sure that they understand the tool that they're using to fit you with. And really, in my opinion, whatever tool, like they're more comfortable with is the right one. You know, it doesn't. I have my opinions about like what I would choose if I was the clinician, but that doesn't really matter. You know, what matters is that they feel comfortable with the tool that they're using, and so that's, you know, there's not really a pro and con of like, should they be doing this? That you should get the same outcome if they're good. If they were really good at using both tools, the outcome would be the same. So you want what they're most comfortable with. But once they have their model looking good digitally or in the real world, they'll create what's called a test socket. And a test socket is a clear plastic piece. It's your socket, it's your shape, but it's just a clear plastic piece that is meant for you to wear maybe in the office or maybe like wrapped in fiberglass at home for a little bit of time, but not a long time. I've broken a lot of these when I take them home. The benefit or the need for them is so that you can go and see, you know, your prosthetist can have you slide into it and they can see, oh, right here is really tight. This is where we're getting held up, or this is where we need added pressure, or everything looks good. It just helps everyone be able to see things visually a little bit better. And so that's why they use, you know, that clear plastic. And really it's just to check the fit in general. When they're 3D printed, they're a little bit harder to see through, but it's still just the same idea of let's check and see if you notice anything, if I notice anything, and make sure that everything feels good. And then you could go through 1 to 3 of those. 3 is a lot. Like, you know, if you've gone through 2, you're starting to get outside of the realm of like, of an easy fit. And that's the thing, is there's nobody that is like an easy fit or a hard fit. Like, everyone is just so unique, and just sometimes it takes more time, and that really is the reality of it. It can be a very frustrating process, and I think for everyone, we've all had a frustrating time being fitted at one point or another, or all the time. But like, I've had times where it's like, man, why can't they get this thing right? And then I realized, oh, I needed to be giving input this way, or we needed to be paying attention to this thing. And that's why it's important as a user to be just analyzing what's going on and how to relay that back to them, so that you can solve the problems and get to a better fit, because it really is a whole team effort. But once you've given the approval and everybody feels good about where the test socket is at, then they will make, you know, the final socket. And so the final socket will be your definitive that you will sign a delivery ticket for, and they'll bill your insurance for. And this can be, you know, carbon fiber or fiberglass or a blend of both, or there's a lot of different materials that are being used nowadays. But this is your leg. This is what you'll take and wear, and depending on the type of suspension that you have, which one day later we'll go into suspension types, but you could be, you know, I'm wearing a suction system, so I put a liner on, and I also I have a lot of invagination and scarring, so I wear a distal cup inside of my liner, and then I wear a liner, which is a big silicone sleeve, and then I wear my socket, which has a big flexible inner socket, which is a softer flexible plastic, and then I have my hard carbon frame that kind of holds everything together. And so you could have, you know, distal cups and pads and all of these different things, or you could have no liner at all, or, you know, there's a lot of different types of suspensions and ways to get the job done. It's really just figuring out with your prosthetist what's going to work best for you in your day-to-day life, and the things that you need to accomplish your goals and keep moving forward, you know, physically and emotionally. And so it could be a long process. It could be anywhere from 2 to 6 months to a year even. I mean, it takes time. It can take time, especially depending on your swelling, and that's why wearing a shrinker in the beginning is important, and, you know, paying attention to how your volume changes with your diet and with your exercise and all those things, so that you can better manage it. But it's you know, it is manageable. All of it is manageable, and you can get to a place where I really thought for a long time, I was like, I don't know how anyone wears their leg more than 4 hours at a time. Like, I didn't know how that was ever possible. And now I go some days I wear 10, 12, 14 hours, and it's like, dang, I didn't really even think about it. But I remember people saying that to me, like, as a support group, like, you know, when I was in like year 5 and 6, even like feeling pretty confident and being like guys being like, I don't even think about, you know, how long I wear my leg. I just put it on in the morning and I don't take it off. And I was like, dang, you don't worry about sweat or comfort or getting hot or anything. Like, you don't ever fix it. And you know, now I have days like that where I don't. And it took a long time to get there, but it can happen. But I think that really the way that I got there was by really paying attention to what's going on so that I could solve as many problems as I could and help the team around me, you know, that was building my device and everything, so that I ended up in the most functional thing possible. So that's a quick little breakdown on how the process kind of goes. If you have any questions or comments about how the process goes, or you've got some new technology or whatever, throw them in the comments. Let's see them. We'd love to talk about new stuff and everything else. So that's it for this week. We'll see you next time.